power of Sabalenka wasn't just on the court. It was everything beyond it. By 2024 and into early 2025, she hadn't just become the face of women's tennis. She had become its most formidable commercial force. Not just popular. Not just marketable. Untouchable. Luxury brands weren't chasing relevance, they were chasing her. Gucci didn't just approach, they pursued aggressively. Emirates locked in with precision. Nike didn't just sign her, they positioned her as a global powerhouse. This wasn't endorsement. This was domination, on every front. These weren't minor side deals or local tie-ups. We're talking 8-figure, cornerstone commitments from companies that don't take risks with their reputations. Corporations surveyed the women's tennis landscape and made a crystal-clear calculation. Sabalenka was the safest bet, the highest-yielding asset, the undisputed choice. Her matches commanded millions of viewers. Her social media reach was colossal. Her face was on billboards spanning continents. She embodied a rare fusion of power and elegance, the kind of athlete luxury brands chase for decades. By early 2025, financial analysts tracking athlete earnings pegged her annual sponsorship income between $40 million and $50 million. And that was before prize money, appearance fees, and investment gains. Her contracts featured 7-figure bonuses tied to Grand Slam victories, performance multipliers that rewarded excellence, and appearance guarantees regardless of outcomes. The machine was flawless. Her financial advisors spoke of her in terms usually reserved for athletes on a path to billionaire status. The Sabalenka brand wasn't just strong. It felt invincible, permanent, untouchable. Something only a catastrophic, sustained collapse could even threaten. No one saw it coming. No one had the words to describe the storm about to hit. And then there was Alex, a 20-year-old from Manila, Philippines. At the start of 2025, if you weren't immersed in women's tennis, her name meant nothing. She wasn't a top 10 player. She wasn't a household brand face. She wasn't getting prime broadcast slots or major press attention. Yet everything was about to change. She was just another gifted young player, trying to carve out space in a sport brimming with prodigious talent. Nobody had placed a big bet on her yet, not the kind of investment that can redefine a career. Then Miami happened. Her run through that tournament wasn't supposed to unfold like this. She dismantled a top 20 player, then another. The upsets kept coming, and what began as an intriguing subplot became a phenomenon the tennis world couldn't ignore. People who'd never watched a women's tennis match before were suddenly glued to her highlights. Because it wasn't just that she was winning, it was how she was winning. And more than that, it was who she was while winning. A young woman from a developing nation, humble beginnings, no corporate machine, and no dynasty supporting her. Just raw talent and a fearless hunger to prove herself against athletes with every structural advantage. The underdog story wrote itself. And the world devoured it. Social media exploded. TikTok, Instagram. Suddenly, Alex's content was everywhere. Not the polished, brand-managed everywhere, but organic, raw, unfiltered. People weren't watching her for sponsorships. They were watching her for her. Each match felt like a chapter in a story they desperately wanted to see reach a happy ending. She represented something Sabalenka didn't. Where Sabalenka was a force of nature, admired from a distance, Alex was the one you rooted for at 3 a.m., when you should have gone to bed hours ago. She made people feel. And in today's sports marketing world, that kind of connection is worth hundreds of millions. The sponsorship inquiries started quietly. Nike was watching. Baat saw the metrics. Globe Telecom in the Philippines recognized the national story and moved fast. But then it stopped being just a regional buzz. International brands began running her marketability numbers, and what they discovered was startling. Her engagement rates didn't just compete, they outperformed athletes with far larger followings. Her demographic reach was wide, deep, and precisely what brands pay top dollar for. She resonated with younger audiences, with global viewers, with people who'd never cared about tennis before. She wasn't just rising. She was becoming a global phenomenon, live, with the world watching. Here's the language that matters in the boardrooms where big sponsorship deals are made. Sabalenka was a proven asset. Predictable returns. Guaranteed visibility. An established audience. That's solid. Safe. Reliable. Alex. She was a force multiplier. An exponential growth opportunity. Every match she played, her stock soared. With every interview she gave, she became more relatable, more magnetic, more human. Every sponsored post outperformed the last because millions weren't just watching, they were emotionally invested. They weren't just spectators, they were rooting for her. And hope, as any top marketing executive will tell you, is the most potent currency in the business. The momentum shifted gradually, then all at once. In March 2025, Gucci released a statement. The wording was careful, corporate, and diplomatically measured, but the message was crystal clear. They wanted Alex's face representing their luxury brand. Sabalenka's partnership? They were restructuring it, a polite corporate euphemism for walking away. Then Emirates followed. Not long ago, the airline had announced a landmark long-term deal with Sabalenka. Now their own marketing data was telling a harsh truth. Younger audiences weren't engaging with Sabalenka, they were engaging with Alex. And in a business where relevance to young consumers defines a brand's future, that data is law. Then Nike made it official, a global partnership with Alex, $15 million. Loud, public, unmistakable. The message was clear. This is who we believe in now. This is the face of the future. The announcement hit like a bomb. Because this wasn't just a contract, it was a declaration. Within 72 hours, 3 more major sponsors indicated they would either end or drastically renegotiate their agreements with Sabalenka. The financial damage was happening in real time, faster than anyone on her team could respond. What had been a $300 million sponsorship empire was bleeding value by the day. Agents scrambled. Staff went into crisis mode. The brutal truth about sponsorship momentum? Once brands sense the tide shifting, they act. Loyalty in that world is a comforting story sponsors tell themselves during the good times. When the data shifts, contracts are renegotiated, and the narrative changes, permanently. There is no loyalty to an athlete when a more compelling story emerges. It's not personal. It's math. And the maths had stopped favoring Sabalenka. Sports media feasted. Tennis journalists churned out think pieces on generational upheaval. Commentators debated whether Sabalenka's on-court dominance had become commercially irrelevant in an age where social media influence is currency. Was she too cold? Too predictable? Had her precision and power made her feel machine-like to an audience craving human stories? The questions hurt, not because they were fair, but because they existed at all. She had won everything. She had delivered on every expectation sponsors had. And now she was being assessed as a commercial liability. The silence that followed the first wave of departures was brutal in itself. Where there had once been a constant influx of partnerships, appearances, brand events, and invitations, there was now quiet, and it was not peace. Her phone rang less. Emails from her agents carried tension. The machinery that had fueled her commercial dominance had simply stopped producing new opportunities. She was still winning matches. She was still world number one. But the money had moved on. The brands had chosen. And in the modern social media-driven sports economy, that choice carries consequences no Grand Slam victory can erase. The psychological toll is the part that often goes unspoken. Sabalenka had built her identity around being the dominant force. That identity extended far beyond the court. She had dominated negotiations. She had dominated the marketplace. She was the benchmark, the standard others measured themselves against. Now she was in unfamiliar territory, watching a 20-year-old dismantle the commercial empire she had spent years constructing. Not through sabotage, not through clever strategy, just by being a more compelling story at the exact right moment. That kind of loss hits differently than any match defeat ever could. She gave interviews. She defended her brand, her record. She recounted Grand Slams, consistency, and her proven ability to deliver for sponsors. All of it was true. None of it mattered. The sports marketing machine doesn't run on logic or fairness. It runs on engagement metrics, demographic reach, viral momentum, and narrative energy. And all of that now belonged to Alex. No press tour could change that. Other athletes watched with a mix of sympathy and quiet horror. The implications went beyond one player's deals. If Sabalenka, the reigning world number one, multiple Grand Slam champion, and athlete who had done everything right, could lose $300 million in potential earnings in 30 days. No one's position was safe. The market doesn't reward longevity, consistency, or past performance. It rewards the story people want to believe in, right now. And that story can shift overnight. 3 months after the collapse, the dust had settled enough to see the full picture. Sabalenka's ranking hadn't fallen. Her tennis was still elite. Her Grand Slam prospects remained intact. But the economics surrounding her had been irreversibly rewritten. The era of her as women's tennis's most valuable commercial asset wasn't fading, it was over. And what replaced it was a new order, with Alex at its center. Carrying not just Nike's investment, but also the hopes of an entire country, an entire generation of young athletes from nations that had never seen one of their own rise this high. The lesson is uncomfortable and impossible to ignore. In 2025, being the best tennis player in the world isn't enough to guarantee commercial dominance. You have to be the greatest story. You have to make people feel something beyond admiration. You have to carry a narrative that gives audiences a reason to be emotionally invested in your success, not just impressed by it. Sabalenka commanded respect. She inspired awe, the kind reserved for forces of nature. But Alex had something rarer, something infinitely more valuable. She had people's hearts. Sabalenka will win more Grand Slams. She will cement her place as one of the greatest players of her generation. Her legacy on the court is untouchable. But the commercial empire she built, the $300 million in partnerships, the brand machinery, and the luxury endorsements, that is gone. And the most sobering truth? It didn't vanish because she failed. It disappeared because the world fell in love with someone else's beginning.